There is a myth, and myth means story, that for our ancestors there was a sacred temple in the city of Jerusalem that stood for over 1,000 years, plan 1, plan 2, a lot of different constructions. And in the middle of that temple, which we know was the cockpit, the innermost, the Holy of Holies, curtained off from the rest of everybody else. First class got to be in the inner, that was the priests, the aristocracy. Then there was, business class, and there was coach, where everybody else got to hang out. Those two had names and hierarchies. And people came, as we do now, on pilgrimage once, twice, 3 times a year to be part of the community, to eat the meat, to hear the music, to connect. And all they had to do on Yom Kippur was just to know that this one guy, this designated leader, would be entering the innermost, the cockpit, where the black box is, where the energy valve exists, connecting heaven and earth, a mystery we do not understand. And the Kohen Gadol, his responsibility was to turn the lights on, to switch the switch, to hit reset. And he would do so by lighting an incense pan, as you heard, where the smoke will connect earth and heaven, a vertical line that would be reigniting the connection between the humans and the divine. And people would see the smoke, and they would smell it, and they would know, okay, we're back in business. We're not alone. We're not isolated. The God of Israel is looking over us, because that is where God lives. Myth or not, that's what our ancestors believed. It's in the Torah, in the Mishnah, in the Talmud, in our many writings. Historians have written about it. Eyewitnesses viewed the splendor of that choreography. The high priest, decked in white and linen and gold and bells, would enter that innermost, but sometimes he might die. Now, what they don't tell us is that myth collapsed, that the magic stopped working, that about 100 years before the year 70 CE, when the Jerusalem temple burned up in flames because the Romans destroyed it, the magic stopped working, say our scholars. People stopped believing. The atonement didn't work. That white, the red ribbon that was hanging from the roof that was supposed to turn white after the high priest enters the Holy of Holies and the scapegoat is pushed off the cliff, it stopped turning white. The magic stopped working. And prophets were standing way, way before that, like Amos and Hosea and Jeremiah and Isaiah. And later on, that man from the Galilee who we called Yeshua stood up and said, "What are you doing? Enough with this empty ritual of transformation and atonement. Enough with killing animals. Enough with this hierarchy of priests. This is not working. This is not what the divine wants from us. Feed the poor, take care of the widows. What about the immigrants? Take care of each other, love." And when Jesus knocks over those tables in the courtyard of the moneylenders saying, "In God we trust," really? What are your values? Look around you. And Jerusalem, we know from our sages, was destroyed not because of the Roman Empire, but because people didn't love each other and minded their own business and were in isolation of choice. So the Holy of Holies stopped operating way before the temple became a forgotten heap of rubble. Something went wrong. And we need to ask ourselves what went wrong and what is wrong now and how we can fix, because the Holy of Holies, Kodesh HaKodeshim, is an invitation for us today to not only grow out of isolation that we have right now, so we can be healthier, and we can debate the health codes, but here we are, and here we grow. And I want to say 2 things, one about private and one about public, that I'm thinking about the Holy of Holies this year that I want to share with us as hopefully helpful steps for how we take a step, one by one, out of this reality and into this temple and beyond this year, to not lose hope and to rise and reckon and live as proudly and happily as we can in the middle of a pandemic and a national moment of crisis. Let's start with the private. In the Talmud, Rabbi Akiva, who may have lived to see the Jerusalem temple and the civilization collapse into ruin, says the Holy of Holies is the Song of Songs. There is a scroll, a book in our scripture called the Song of Solomon, the Song of Songs. It is an erotic, mystical collection of poems that all about getting it on. Not just in the crass sense. It isn't about pornography. It is about love and eros in its deepest sense of the beloved in each other and in community. And Rabbi Akiva said, Kodesh HaKodeshim, Shir HaShirim. There is no more Holy of Holies, but the Song of Songs, the invitation for intimacy. That's what was at the heart of the temple in Jerusalem. The promise of intimacy. I'm not alone. There is a God, and it is taking care of me. There is a presence, Shekhinah. When that is gone, says Rabbi Akiva, the building is burnt. We have the song. We have the story. We have the Song of Songs. We have the invitation for human dialogue and intimacy with each other and also inside. My salvation these many, many months has been you. People who join me every day for a daily soul spa. Those of you who did reach out and say, how are you? And I know many of us have gained friendships and many of us have lost friendships, maybe for always, maybe for now, but we all found ways to create intimacy and friendship and dialogue with others on phone and on Zoom, on FaceTime or text, singing to each other through the window, clapping at 7 p.m. to the amazing, amazing first responders. We found ways of creating intimacy and connection, and I found that in so many ways I'm grateful for, and I found that inside. I found the Holy of Holies inside. It's always there. I've always known it. I've taken more time as an emergency procedure to close my eyes and go inside and use the ancient tools that I've received that's called in Hebrew, hitbonenut, insight. Go inside. Inside the still small voice, this kol dmama daka, lesser distracted by all the noises, I was able to find kodesh, sacred, solace, hope. And through my sobs and tears, especially those first few weeks, there was a voice inside that said, shh, it's okay. I got you. You've got this. Keep on breathing. Be here now. You are so much luckier than so many others. And yes, you are alone. You got a roof and food and decent Wi-Fi most of the time. So in my innermost, I found the innermost, and I want to encourage every single one of us, however you roll, to find your innermost inside, because come what may, October and November and December and beyond, if we don't have our innermost within, we are in the mercy of the outer forces. And we have always had an innermost, a Kodesh Kodashim, regardless of a temple or church or synagogue, a mosque or sanctuary. We are it, and it is here. We get to be our own Kohen Gadol and enter our Holy of Holies. And from the hotel where we all slept last night, the High Holiday Inn, I took this thing from the door that says, hang on, I'm busy. Please don't clean my room right now because I just need to be alone. And I've never used it, honestly, in hotels, so I'm going to probably bring it back. But I'm using it as just a symbol to say, what will it take for you to put on the sign that says, busy? I'm having intimacy right now with me. And for those of you lucky to be at home with loved ones and families and kids, I know it's hard. And for those of us home alone, it's super hard. But we have tools at our disposal to go inside and to connect the heaven and the earth, our spine, our heart, our tears, our laughter, breathing and meditation, contemplation and singing, yoga or tai chi, whatever. Go inside. The answers are not inside, they are within. And I'm a rabbi, and I'm a wannabe mystic, and I'm trying to do what I can to just be in my body and my soul and not freak out, and I do that by going in. That is one way to do the Holy of Holies. And it's on us every day. The more we practice, the more we don't hear those distractions and are able to be and hear what we need to hear. But that's only one way of being in the Holy of Holies. That's the private one. There is a public one that is on us to rediscover as well. And as I was studying this text this year with Derek and with Naomi, with everything that's going on, as our community, like so many others, is thinking, how do we save America? How do we rise to help democracy and justice and decency? We are getting ready to vote. And if you think about the civic sacred of our time, the voting booth is the Holy of Holies. Where else do you get to be alone, like that high priest, and reignite the best of what we aspire to? And speak your truth and say, I vote for this, with optimism and hope, with the best homework that I've done to know many, many choices. Make a choice. That is the Holy of Holies. And guess what? In our sacred civic religion, this Holy of Holies has been desecrated for centuries now by those who are obstructing the vote for political gain, despite everything we know. This is 2020, and the suffrage vote won 100 years ago. Not every single woman in America got to vote 100 years ago. We still have a way to go to make sure everybody can vote and will vote. And who is that going to be on? Us. So I am presuming that everybody I'm speaking to today has already made a plan to register to vote. But I'm going to make a bet that we know people who haven't. So number one, it is on us as a sacred duty of the first order. And I don't care right now to talk about the politics of who wins, just the sacred duty of making this democratic privilege a priority. Who do you know? Who can you call? Who can you go figure out a strategy for voting with starting tomorrow morning? How can you volunteer? We're doing so with a few organizations. There are so many more to get the vote, to get voters to the Holy of Holies, to fight against those who are trying to obstruct the sacred task, this intimate, present obligation to rise and raise our voice and be in the divine image and be the Kohanim, the priests of privilege, of purpose, to change our world for good. Whatever the religions we inherited, it needs a lot of fixing, and so does our democracy. And it's on us to be Kohen Gadol. There is no more Kohen Gadol. The Kohen family is now an honorific. Kohens do not run our religious institutions anymore. They stopped doing so the day the temple burned. And then rabbis took over. Some of us are good, some of us are aspiring. It's not about the rabbis, and it's not about the reverends, and it's not about the president, and it's not about our elected officials. It's on us. We are the Kohen Gadol, and every single one of us gets to enter the Holy of Holies on this day of atonement and say, Hineni, here I am. And if not all of us can get there, then we got to make sure all of us can get there. That's our sacred duty on this year. Every year. But we know what's at stake this year. We know corruption when we see it. That same corruption that destroyed the Jerusalem temple. We know greed when we see it. We know what's going on, no matter what channel you're watching. We have to make sure that decency and love, that honesty and justice prevail. So the Kodesh HaKodeshim, the Holy of Holies, is Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs. That reminder of love and joy and playfulness. Remember that? Of having shepherds who take care of us, of having trust in each other. We got so much to fix. And I'm not saying voting is going to be easy. It is not. I'm not saying getting there will be easy. It is not. But if we take the time to enter our own innermost on a daily basis, breathe our fear and exhale our hope, we can hold each other like that golden chain that holds us all together. The chain that held the slaves of Jerusalem and the slaves of Middle Passage, that chains that are still on the legs of people in the country that incarcerates more than anyone in the world. What is on us to break those chains so we can be tethered with love and not with fear? And that's on us this coming day of election. It is the next Yom Kippur. And sitting this one out is not an option. So let's get into the Holy of Holies right now and tomorrow and the day after, and let raise the bar on what Chaim Tovim might look like, what we sing. Let's have a good life, the good life. That's the secret. There is no Holy of Holies anymore. Not on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, not in the Vatican or Mecca. It's in your heart. And everywhere, a voting booth awaits for us to say, Hineni, here I am. Rabbi Akiva was a mystic and a problematic political character. That's for another time. But he's the one who said, enter and exit in peace. Enter the orchard of mystery, which is dangerous, in peace, and come out in peace. And of the high priest, the Kohen Gadolit would say, when he had the courage, when that leader was not a corrupt leader, but a trusted, loved one, when he entered the Holy of Holies, it says, Nichnas v'yatza b'shalom. He would enter in peace to this dangerous mission of resetting the world, and he would come out in peace. And when he would come out in peace, he would have a holiday. You know what that holiday is called? Yom Kippur, which is why we break fast at the end of today with joy, because we have hit reset inside and out. So may we, my friends, enter our innermost, our isolation palaces of growth in peace, and may we exit on this day and in the days to come in joy and in peace. Shana Tova.